So, can everyone hear?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Brilliant. So, just to introduce this, I've been asking some of the brilliant women of AVR if they would be willing to speak to some club members and ask some questions, tell us a bit about their journey, and also answer questions to give us some top tips if possible. And I'm really, really grateful to Diane, to Rosemary, to Fiona, and to Jackie for doing this for us, because there's been a lot of activity asking about this. People have been really keen to see it, and that shows what a credit you are to the club. So thank each and every one of you for doing that for us in advance. Doesn't matter how you do now, because I've already thanked you. So without further ado, the ladies have got their own order to things. They're going to talk one at a time, and if there is time, they will answer all the questions that have been sent over. So I am going to mute you all, but if you do want to speak or put a reaction in, feel free. Otherwise, I'm about to mute everybody, and I'm going to hand you over to the one and only Fiona Price.
Thank you very much, Jay. Hello. Okay, so I'm just going to give a brief introduction as to how I got into running, and it's going to be quite brief. Hopefully, I'll come across some of the questions that Jay said and cover some of those whilst I'm speaking, but if not, I'm quite happy to answer some of them separately afterwards. So, as a child, I didn't really run. I didn't really do any sports at school. Though I didn't really show any strengths in anything specific sport-wise. My parents were both quite academic, and they didn't really have any interest in sport either. So it wasn't really something that was encouraged in my family life. I do remember at senior school, my first encounter with a cross-country race, where I was briefly very elated, where I'd come second. And it was kind of like, I think I'd been in my senior school for like 2 years, so whatever year group that is now. And I was so pleased that I'd come second. And then I remember coming across the girls that were kind of just in front of me and just behind me, and them saying, oh yeah, but you haven't got any trainers. And there was a kind of a humiliation factor to it, whereby I didn't have the right kit, and I never entered any more cross country again. It definitely affected my confidence. However, I've got no regrets, because I think that's kind of where I've built my empathy for other people's anxiety around different things during my life. So moving straight on from being about 13 or 14, I didn't run until I was 40. And that came about when one of our friends' daughters had a motorbike accident. And unfortunately, she was in a coma for many months. And it was a really tragic time for everybody. And after several months of her being in a coma, there was a major breakthrough by one of her doctors. She started to make some progress, and she was supported by a charity called Headway. And they were so amazing. They managed to help her get back on track in her life, pass her exams. She was a student, she was doing her A-levels at the time. But before all of that, she had to literally learn to walk and talk and do everything again. So a group of us decided that we would do something to support Headway, and we entered a triathlon. So bear in mind, I didn't run, I didn't bike, and I didn't swim. This is how it came about. So there was about 33 of us that took part in it, and it was at the Cotswold Water Park. So it was the very shortest sprint triathlon that you can do there. And it was an incredible experience. And I really loved the running. I was really, really into the running. And I'm really grateful to the process of what happened from there on, because that led to me running. It led to us supporting the charity. And probably about 20 of those people kept up their favourite discipline in that time, and they still continue to do so, and they still continue to race now. So I'm really proud that that's come out of such a bad situation, and also very proud that the young lady is now married happily, and all has ended well. So after the triathlon, I joined Run England group, which is in Westbury, met lots of really friendly people, and I enjoyed the running even more. Then I met AVR at some shorter races. I remember being influenced, especially by Ali Atkinson. I think she was one of the first people that I met. Kay Middleton. There's lots of people around that time that really encouraged me and said, come and join our club. The club's amazing. And I thought, oh, I don't know if I really want to do the club. And then my youngest son really started picking up on the running and started running with me. And we joined Avon Valley Runners. And I really, I can't say enough about how welcoming everybody was, and how I felt a real part of this new running community life. So it was a huge thing in my life. Unfortunately, I got an injury later in 2011, and I really didn't know what I was going to do without my running. So I'd look back through my history of what I'd been doing, and I'd only done about 4 half marathons then, and for an entire year I'd got exactly the same time at all my half marathons. They hadn't changed in any way. It didn't matter if they were hilly, flat or whatever, they were exactly the same time. So I followed an online coaching plan which was written by Martin Rush and Holly Rush, and that season I knocked 7 minutes off my half marathon. So when I got this injury a few months later, we wrote to Martin Rush and asked him if there was any possibility that I could have a meeting with him, because I'd really like to improve my times. And I was super excited when Sean said to me, we've got an appointment with Martin Rush who wants to meet you up at the uni, wear your kit, maybe see you run on the track, and see what happens. And I was so excited that somebody had given me this opportunity, because I am, just an ordinary mum, 4 kids, just absolutely loved the running, but really wanted to progress. So yeah, moving on from that, I met Martin. He watched me run on the track, gave me lots of tips, and said that he'd really like to coach me. So my adventures really took off from there, and he's been an incredibly big part of my running career. And I can't thank him enough for the skills that he's given me. So I did do lots of kind of stuff in county, a small amount of stuff with British Masters, and then he encouraged and planted the seed. Would I look outside the box? How would I feel about doing something internationally? And so that's what we focused on for the next few years. And I learned lots of different types of training by having a coach. I learned to run and race to heart rate. He taught me some amazing skills about how to race and how to apply it to different types of racing. So I don't know if any of you have ever seen the times that I've got when I've been when I've raced internationally, but they're not always as good as what I get here. And that is really because the tactics that you use change significantly. So it's more a case of the group that you can stay with and trying to get past the person that's in your age group. So there's a lot of interval practice. And I do remember one of my hardest ever sessions to do a 10K race, to prepare for a 10K race internationally, was actually to run a half marathon and to practice changing run groups. So you're running in a group, and as you know, if you sprint to the next one, you're going to be tired, but you'll also get the shelter from running behind them. So there's lots of different skills that he taught me with that, and he also led me on to attempting 2 of the British records on the track for an hour challenge. And on one of those occasions, I think I've got 2 British records on the track for an hour challenge. And running around in circles is not everybody's cup of tea, but it's okay for me. It worked really well, and I found that it was really exciting. On one occasion, Tim Lowry came with me. Before you start one of these events, you have to declare that you're going to attempt a British record so that they can get officials in the right places and paperwork can be completed. So we did this, and I do remember one of the officials saying, oh, you won't be able to do it because this record it's been held for 20 years. And I basically, I didn't realize then that I did have that kind of motivation and that drive to want to do well. And I came off the track and I thought, I'm going to go for this challenge. I am definitely going to go for it. And I remember Tim supporting me all the way around, and I heard one of the officials on the side of the track, and he said, she's not going to do it, she's 40 minutes in, her breathing's really laboured. And I remember Tim saying, oh no, she's in the zone, she can hold that puffing and panting for a considerable length of time, she's going to do it. And it's just things like that really, that, you know, having our club support us and having my coach behind me has been a big part of my journey. But I think I've just overrun by about 4 minutes, so I'm going to be quiet. That's my short intro.
Can you all unmute?
Well done, Fiona.
Thank you.
That was brilliant.
Well done.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Fiona. It's a bit like the park run Stop the Clock. You managed to get so much.
I was trying, I was just short
time. I'm really impressed. I think you have answered a lot of the things that people have asked, but I think we'll come back to those at the end. And then if people feel they've not, you know, if you've got time to answer more of those if possible, I think you've answered quite a lot of them sort of as you've gone through. There is a question for you and Fiona, for Fiona and Jackie in particular. So once you're done, if I could ask those ones, that would be fantastic. So I haven't muted any of the talkers when everyone's muted. So if they want to join in, that's absolutely fine.
Okay. Do you want me to go now? Sorry.
Diane's in, everybody. I think so. Excellent.
Shall I carry on?
Love it. Brilliant.
Okay. Well, thank you, Fiona. That's really hard to beat. Right, I'm going to start. Thank you very much, Jay. I feel honoured to be amongst this lovely group of ladies. And I must admit, I've always been active, and as a child, I loved sport. I belonged to Westbury Swimming Club, went horse riding, and was usually picked for the sports teams at school. PE was definitely my favourite subject. I started running competitively when I was 38 years old. For many years, I would watch the London Marathon and would always say, one day I'm gonna enter this. So I decided to join a running club, and I joined Warminster Running Club because I used to see the AVR runners, and I just thought I wasn't good enough for the team, for the club. So I joined Warminster Running Club, and this is where my running really started, and my love of running. I tried to get an entry for London Marathon, but I wasn't successful through the ballot, so I got a golden bond place through the Guide Dogs for the Blind. I do have a friend who is blind. Her name's Tina, and she was my inspiration through the journey of my first London Marathon. We had loads of publicity, loads of publicity, and together we raised £3,500 for this amazing charity. After this is my first London Marathon, and after I said never again. But I've now completed 16, 17, 18 marathons, and I'm looking forward to many more. I love the training, and I enjoy the longer distances, which is lucky because I do think I'm more suited for endurance than speed. Anyway, after a couple of years of just running, I entered a duathlon, and I borrowed a racing bike from a friend. Surprisingly, I came second lady, and this is when I fell in love with the multi-sport.
Oh.
Okay, so thousands of pounds later, I've upgraded bikes and wetsuits. I'm fortunate to have a coach, and my love of triathlon has seen me race all over the world. Some events you do have to qualify for, so with the help of Paul, my coach, I've been lucky enough to qualify for my dream race, which was the Ironman World Championships, which is in Kona in Hawaii. This is a 2.4 mile sea swim, 112 miles on the bike, and then you run a marathon. This was just totally amazing experience. It was a trip of a lifetime, and definitely my dream come true. The Ironman World Champs is definitely the highlight of all my races, but my very first London Marathon will always be a treasured memory. the not knowing if I could complete the distance. It was the first training program that I'd ever followed, the encouragement from friends and family, just the pure excitement and the nerves all at the same time. The whole experience was special, and to raise a huge amount of money was the icing on the cake. Well, after a few years of training with Warminster Run Group, I decided to join Avon Valley Runners. Both clubs have a great social side, but as Warminster have only a few members, it was very rare to get a team together for any event. It was very appealing to be part of AVR's competitive club. As we all know, Avon Valley Runners is an amazing club, and I'm proud to wear the best. We have many members that inspire me, and I hope I can give some inspiration back from some of my achievements. I'm proud to be part of the female squad, and we have some amazing ladies in this team. I have a lot to thank AVR for, Steve, our coach and cross-country cheerleader, the fabulous track, but most importantly our members, great friends in and out of our trainers. Here is a short list of my achievements. So I qualified for the Xterra World Champs. This is an off-road triathlon. This was in Maui in Hawaii. That was in 2014. The Ironman World Champs, which was in Kona, that was in Hawaii in 2017. I qualified for the IT World Champs. That was an Olympic distance and an aquathon. That was in Auckland in New Zealand. Ironman 70.3 World Champs. That was in Nice. That was last year, 2019. And the Europeans in Ibiza, which was the 70.3 in 2018, and I won a bronze medal. I'd just like to say thank you to AVR, because, you know, we all do well, and it's great to have great friends to train with. And I just like to say, if you dream big, you never know what can happen. There is one tip I'd like to say, and that's you can choose your races to suit your ability. If you're a person that loves a sea swim and you like hilly bikes, then look for this in a triathlon. But if you aren't good on hills and, you know, you're petrified of the sea, then look for the race that's going to suit you. So thank you very much. I just cut it short.
Thank you, Diane.
Fantastic, Diane. Can I just tell everyone that I had to work really hard because this is not Diane's comfort zone. So I'm just really grateful that she agreed to join the other ladies today. And thank you so much, Diane.
That was brilliant, Diane.
That's lovely.
Feel free to unmute and have a quick interval between. Once again, Diane's answered a lot of the questions already, but I'm sure we'll come back to them.
Can I just say 2.4 mile swim and a marathon? Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's a long way.
Brilliant. So I believe, oh, go on, I can hear something.
I was just going to say, can I just say, Diane, I'm very glad to be leaving your age group for a short while at the end of this year.
You do well, don't you worry.
I do all I can, that's all there is to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jade.
We're going to move on. I believe that next, if I'm right, is Rosemary Barber.
That's me.
Are you unmuted? So I'm going to mute myself now, Rosemary, and thank you so much again already, but I'm sure that everyone will be absolutely silent listening to what you say.
Right. Shall I start?
Yeah.
Right, what got me into running? I didn't start running till I was 40. Because at school they used to tell me, oh, you're no good, don't even enter the school sports, you know. So I played a lot of racket sport when I was 40, mainly squash. And can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can all hear you, Rosemary. The reason everyone is quiet is because we are genuinely listening.
Oh, right. Okay, Jay, you do well. Yeah, so to get us fitter, because we didn't think we were very fit playing this squash, one of the players suggested we run round Clarendon Field before a match, which we did. And then it progressed to, shall we enter Trowbridge 5-mile road race. This was in 1990, and Stan and Judy were there competing. Now, I didn't know them then, but after the race, Stan said, would I like to join the club? And I thought, oh. Oh, so I turned up the next week. They met at the judo club in Trowbridge. So I went along thinking I would run 1 or 2 miles, and it turned out to be 6 on my first night. But Joyce looked after me. I expect a lot of you know Joyce. So she helped me out there. I don't really come from, I'm not a natural runner. And the only one in my family is my elder brother. He was a PE teacher. He taught PE and physics, and he played county rugby and county cricket. So he was always following my progress. Going on to the race I'm most proud of is the European Duathlon in Swansea. This was 2004. So I was 3rd over 55. That was in Europe. So I was really pleased with the bronze medal there. In 2002, I carried the Commonwealth Games baton. This was a relay baton race. Well, not a race, but I carried it through the streets of Salisbury, and I was really very proud of it. What else is there? Man versus horse. That was one of my favourite races in Wales. Jackie will remember that one. Mm. And we won we were first ladies bet team, and we won £250. That was between 3 of us. What else is there? Oh yeah, I was always pleased to be in AVR club, because there's always someone willing to give you advice or help you out, and it's a great club. I think that's all I got. Is that okay?
That's amazing.
Brilliant,
Rose.
Thank you so much, Rose. That's fantastic. Like, again, you've answered a lot of the questions, but I know there's going to be maybe a few more at the end, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
Or say anything, feel free, people.
Well done, Rosemary.
Brilliant.
Rose. I remember that man v horse race very well.
Do you like it?
Oh, it's brilliant. I'd love to do it again.
So do I, yeah. I think I'm a bit old.
No, you're not. Of course you're not.
I want to know what you spent the money on.
Probably booze.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Rosemary.
You're welcome.
I'm gonna move on to the look how excited Jackie is.
I'm not. I'm shaking. I'm surprised you can't see my phone shaking.
So I just want everyone to agree that they will be kind to Jackie. She is nervous. And just literally, Jackie, just tell us a little bit about where it all began for you. If that's okay.
Yeah, okay. I joined AVR not long after Rose, actually, in 1992. My dad was one of the founder members, so it was quite easy to get in. But like Rose, I hadn't done that much running, really. So, you know, there was no beginners group or anything like that. You just turned up and ran 6 miles much faster than you were capable of and died at the end, basically. It was horrendous, but I loved it, really, I suppose. I can remember having none of the gear or anything. I used to go out in great big thick joggers, just no idea at all. I had no idea I'd be any good either. When I was at school, I ran a little bit, but it never really lasted. As soon as I discovered boys and alcohol, that was my sports career out the window. So I joined in 1992. I started racing pretty much straight away. My first ever race actually was as well the Trowbridge 5-mile race, which my dad paced me round in 9-minute miling. My dad had been out and done a 22-mile training run in the morning and then paced me around the 5-mile race afterwards. And I absolutely loved it. I did exactly as he told me to do. He told me, catch up with so-and-so, do this, do that. And I just did what I was told. And start a bit like with Rose, actually. Stan was there and said, oh, you ought to get her to join the club. So that was that. I joined. Also, actually, which I don't know if Rose knows this, but before I joined AVR, I went along to one of the presentation award evenings at Southwick Village Hall, and Rose won everything, basically. And
That's over with now.
and I sat there and I thought, I want to do that. So I joined the club, and Rose was just the person I followed completely. There wasn't that many women in the club then, and Rose was just amazing. So yeah, it sort of went from there. Yeah, I sort of soon realised that I was sort of quite good at it, really. I didn't do my first half marathon for a couple of years. My first half was 1:34. So really, I haven't knocked much off that over 28 years.
Oh,
You have.
you have.
Well, 11 minutes over 28 years. And then I don't know who's on this group, but I think some of you know and some of you don't, but alcohol has played quite a big part in my life, along with the running. And I can honestly say that if it wasn't for the running, I'm not sure where I'd be now, because it kind of brought me back from the brink quite a few times. I don't know how I managed to carry on training like I did and have the lifestyle I had as well. It's a bit nuts, really, but somehow I managed to do it. So, I mean, I have an awful lot to be thankful for. I've never really considered myself to be, I know I'm good because it says it on paper, but I always kind of think that was somebody else. It still feels like that was somebody else, especially at the moment because I'm injured again. But you know, each time I think, well, that's it, I'm never going to get back, I seem to somehow kind of pull myself back and get back on track again. And I haven't drank now actually for 2.5 years, so yeah, so I'm sort of much better than I ever was. But yeah, enough of partying. Yeah, me and my dad sort of ran together quite a bit. There was a point where he kind of slowed down a lot and I was getting faster, so we had about a couple of years where we were able to train together, and that was amazing times, being able to kind of marathon train with my dad. I used to go and watch him run in the marathon when I was younger. And I can remember the first time it kind of swapped around, and I was coming down the last bit of the London Marathon, and my dad was actually watching me and was cheering me on, and I felt really kind of emotional in that. I didn't really have proper coaching, not until Steve joined the club a few years ago. I can't remember, 2014 maybe. I'd had my son and I was just kind of getting back into training properly, and Steve kind of turned up, and I thought that was it. All my PBs were done like 20 years ago. And he just said, well, don't be silly, we'll get you back to that. And I thought, yeah, right, okay. And he did, he made me believe in myself again. Also, the fact that Diane and Fiona, had just achieved so much, I just sort of thought, well, why am I thinking I can't do that? Of course I can do that. So they were huge in my sort of comeback as well, really. I don't really know what else to say. What else did everybody else say? Achievements. Yeah. It's all been a bit up and down, I suppose, really. There's never been a major plan. I've just done what I can when I can do it, and I've reaped the rewards for some hard training. I think probably Salisbury Half was my best race, even though it wasn't a national race or whatever. It was just one of those races where everything went to plan. It was amazing. I felt amazing. I got a PB, and this was only like two years ago. I got a PB and I was first lady as well, and the weather was perfect. It was amazing. So I still think, yeah, that was probably one of my best things, except for beating my dad for the first time and beating Rosemary Barber for the first time. Oh. That was a major achievement. So yeah, that's sort of it, really. That I probably could go into more detail, but I didn't really prepare anything because I don't really want to. So there we are. Thank you.
Jackie, you did earn an England vest as well.
Yeah, I did. You're right, twice.
Exactly.
Forgot about that. Sorry. Yeah, I did compete in a cross country too, one in Glasgow and Swansea. And that, as Fiona said, is completely different kettle of fish. It's all about beating the person in front of you. And it's hideous. I hated it. Every minute of it. Horrible. But then I think most of you know that I don't really like racing that much. I love it the minute I get over the finish line, but I hate everything leading up to it, as Diane has had to experience on many occasions.
Oh,
Going to cross countries.
yeah.
Thank you. That's all I'll say.
Well done.
Well done, Jackie.
Brilliant, Jackie.
I don't want to talk too much because this isn't about me, but I do need to say how that's made me feel. I feel like full. I feel full, yeah, totally. I didn't dream that this would be as much as it has been already, just by hearing what each of you had to say. I do feel emotional, because for someone that isn't ever going to necessarily achieve what you have achieved, in terms of running, you just inspire me as women, and I feel really grateful to know each one of you in different ways, and I hope that everyone here gets that opportunity to as well, because yeah, it's not just about running, it's about everything, and you really are 4 fantastic women. Yeah, so yeah, massive round of applause.
Oh, thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
I'm
you.
gonna read some of the questions if that's okay, and I've got you 4 muted if that's all right. And if you feel you haven't answered it already, chip in, and if you feel you have answered it already, then we'll just move forward. So, whew, there's so many questions. I think several of you have answered what you found most beneficial about being part of a club. Does anyone want to add to that at all?
I will, if you like.
Yeah.
The best thing is just the friendship, you know, the support and everything like that. It's just absolutely amazing. All of my best friends are all in AVR. You know, I wouldn't be where I am now personally, or, you know, running wise, if it wasn't for being in a club like AVR. It's just amazing.
Thank you, Jackie. I've got what pushes you to achieve.
For me, I can tell you that when I look on the power of 10, and you can kind of work out who's in front of you, or who's achieved a certain WAVA percentage, that kind of motivates me. And I'm always thinking, if somebody my age has achieved something, then A, it's possible, and B, wouldn't it be great to have a go at doing it? So that's what keeps me going.
How do you control your nerves at the start of the race? I know Jackie said
I don't.
I don't. but you obviously do race, so at some point something clicks in. How do you control your nerves?
We're all going to say we're really bad at controlling our nerves, because we are.
I
take Diane along with me, and then she's all happy and cheerful and lovely, and then it all disappears.
I obviously do get nervous, but I don't think I am as bad as Fiona and Jackie. I can't speak for Rosemary because I've not usually been at the beginning of a race with Rosemary, but I have with Fiona and Jackie, and I know Jackie can be a nervous wreck. So whatever she does I'm not too bad, I must admit. I do get nervous, but not as bad as Jackie and Fiona.
My nerves definitely disperse once we've got into the pens, and I've met Diane and Jackie and all the other runners, but my nerves can start building from 4 weeks before I race, really badly.
Rosemary,
mine disperse when I get over the finish line. Palpitations all the way round.
Rosemary, do you have nerves at all?
Yeah, very much so. Even in these virtual races,
Really?
running on my own,
Yeah.
and I'm as nervous as anything. But if you warm up well and do a lot of stretches on your own, it helps, I think. And then when you when you get in the group and you say, "Oh, hi, so and so, hi," then it all calms down, and off you go.
Do you have any race routines? Is there anything you've got to have with you or have in order?
Diane!
Imodium. I will not race without Imodium.
Yes, I'll
Amazing.
second that.
Yeah, and I think it's getting worse as I'm getting older, but yeah, definitely Imodium.
Does anyone have lucky knickers?
What, for running? or what other
Got mine on now.
Lucky knickers.
For Diane, how often do you train?
This will all depend on if what part of the training program. Well, if I'm doing like an Ironman, if I'm starting off like a fresh training program, then at the beginning, if it could be sort of like one training session per day with a day off at the weekend usually. And then it will progress to maybe throwing in 2 sessions a day. So maybe I might do 2 sessions on 3 days and then have a day off. And then when you hit the peak of the program, I could be training twice a day, perhaps not every day, but twice a day with no days off for a couple of weeks. But a couple of those training sessions, they might be yoga or like a steady swim, or so I might run in the morning or bike in the morning, and then in the evening I might sort of like, you know, do a gentle swim or a gentle run or a yoga session. So I say twice a day, but it would take up some time, first, you know, morning and evening. And I might not have a day off, but then, so that's the peak of the program. And then obviously when you're in the taper session of or taper time of the program, then it will be, you know, back to sort of like 1 or 2 sessions, but they'll be a lot shorter, and trying to get ready for like the race day. So trying to recover, but still maintain that fitness. But so the middle of the program, a bit like if anyone's trained for London for a marathon, you know, you'd get sort of like maybe, you know, say 20 weeks into your 10 weeks. And then like you would end up recovering after sort of like a few weeks. You need a few weeks to recover.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Wow. Do you have a favourite, swim, bike or run?
Running's always my favourite. Yeah, definitely.
And what is your most important piece of equipment?
Well, I would say, you know, if in the swim I wouldn't want to go without goggles. In a bike, you obviously need a bike. But if I just think preparation is key. It's not like a piece of equipment. I think you do need to be prepared. It's and that might go for any race, but definitely in triathlon. I mean, you can prepare yourself really well by knowing the course. You need to have your kit, and you know, it's no good turning up to an A race where you've taken months to train for this event, and you know, you've forgotten your favorite goggles, or you know, you've forgotten your race helmet or something. So I would say the most important thing for race day is being prepared.
Brilliant. Thank you, Diane.
Thanks, Diane.
What in training, this is for all of you, what do you look forward to the most, and what do you like the least?
All of I'm not very motivational, am I?
I don't think you understand how motivational you are. I really don't. Anyway, does anyone have like a favourite type of run or a least favourite?
I think it's nice to be part of sorry, I don't know whether this is what you mean, but I definitely think it's nice to be part of like a team. Yeah. So I really look forward to our team events, like say we go to cross country, and it might not matter whether you're coming first, second or third, we've got a team entered, and that is really nice to be part of that team.
Yeah, again, I'd say like the relays that we do are kind of like the only races that I don't get nervous for, because the excitement is in there before anything else. So being part of a relay is really important.
I've got a question for Jackie and Fiona. It says, you've suffered a roller coaster with injury over the years. How do you stay motivated to get back to that peak level? What drives you?
You go first, Jackie.
I suppose my injury, I mean, I've been really lucky with injury. I mean, let's say I've been running 28 years. I've only really suffered with injury in the last 4 years, on and off. I mean, the whole of this last year has been pretty, I haven't really trained properly for a year. And like recently, you know, I'm going out and running, and I just can't believe that I feel so awful and that I'm running so slowly for me, and I just think I'm never going to get back there. And then every so often, you know, you might have a little run where there's a little glimmer of hope. It suddenly feels more natural. It starts to feel like how it did before, only for one run, and then it goes back again. But you know, and I think what motivates is seeing that other people have been through it and they've done it. You know, like I say, because I haven't had a lot of injuries, I really start thinking, oh well, this is it now. But and I think after running for so long, it's just a way of life. You know, I would be running if I was good or not. You know, even if I was like the slowest of the slow, I would still be running because it's just brilliant. You know, so it just so happens that when I start training, I tend to get faster. You know, so you know, it isn't necessarily the to get back to where it was, you know, to where I was before. It's just to be able to get back to run, really, and the rest follows.
Brilliant. Fiona?
Yeah, so again, like Jackie, I know it probably appears that I've had lots of injuries, but I haven't really. So I had the original Achilles problem before I met Martin, and then unfortunately I was quite ill for a couple of years between 2015 and 2017, and because of that illness, I ended up with a double stress fracture on the same leg, and unfortunately that took a very, very long time to heal, and I wasn't able to do any speed sessions for well over a year. In that time I was still able to do some competitions, to be honest, so I was pleased that I was able to do anything at all, but I wasn't able to run at the level I wanted to, or increase my activity. So I've just learnt, because I've had a great coach, how to come out of those types of injuries. So unfortunately I think if I get injured, they're pretty severe. Hopefully that's not going to happen again, but you never know. So I'm just cautious with my training as I've got older, and learn a lot about techniques about how to come out of injury, what types of session to avoid, and lots of other kind of like tips from Martin as we've gone along.
Somebody, I tried to mute everyone, but somebody's TV keeps going, so I'm trying to mute that back. I've got here, and it's a question for all again. It's a shocking, cold, wet, horrible day where everyone else, you know, where other people stay at home in a nice warm house. What gets you out there? That you know that nice warm house versus that winter weather. What gets you out there?
Well,
I'll answer this one because I did have this one day. I had to go out and do a run for marathon training, and I looked down on Strava to see what everyone else had done. And I thought, oh yes, they've been out, get your ass out there. So I did. Yeah, so Strava can help for definite.
Well,
That's
I think
great.
it's just part of the routine, and you say to yourself, well, it's got to be done, get out there. So I don't really mind going out in all weathers.
No, I don't either.
Especially if you're meeting up with someone, then they're expecting you to be there. So
yeah,
just go.
I don't mind. I'll run in all weathers as well. I prefer the sun, as everybody knows, but I don't avoid the rain, and it doesn't make me less motivated because it's raining. I just still do it.
Yeah,
I think if I'm following a training program, then definitely it's got to be done. And so yeah, there's two ways it's definitely gonna, I'm gonna get out that door. But if there's no races entered, then yeah, I can sort of think, well, I'll do it later, and come the evening you might have thought, oh, I wish I'd done it this morning, and sometimes it might not get done. But if there's a race on the horizon, I'd definitely be out there training.
Fantastic. Rosemary, it says here, after so many years of performing at consistently high level, what makes you want to keep pushing and getting the results that you do?
Well, I've been thinking about this. It's inevitable that I'm getting slower. Oops. Jackie, are you bored? No, I see runners now that pass me that wouldn't have years ago, but I don't let it get to me. It doesn't worry me, because when, like Fiona said, you look on Run Britain and you sort of see people of your own age in the 70 plus thing, and you think, oh, I'll aim for that speed or something like that. So a lot of people say, oh, I'm getting so slow, and it's a negative thing. And if you just do what you can, because I enjoy running, I just go out there.
And still hitting those age categories and the WAVA score that people can only dream of. Yeah.
Well,
only
yeah,
doing that.
That is my aim.
Diane, during a long race, Ironman, for example, has inside your head ever been an issue? Do you get the little voice saying to stop? If so, how do you shut it down?
Yeah, I've definitely been in that zone where I'm thinking this is really tough. I can say that I've never wanted to pull out of a race. I mean, I would walk in a marathon, say if it was an Ironman and I was really shattered in the run, I have walked, but I would never pull out. And it's through my mind, I must admit, sometimes the sacrifices that have been made for me to get to say Kona. I mean, that was my dream race. I had a coach for a couple of years to prepare me for the event, trying to help me qualify, and then I qualified, and then I had the coach to prepare me for the main race. So maybe for 2 years I'd had a coach. I'd had weekends where I'd be out on the bike for hours on end, quite shattered sometimes. So the sacrifices that the whole family makes, really, for me to do the race, and nobody minds, and we all love it. We all love that I do well. I love it, but that does go through your mind when you're at the event, to think, sometimes if you're finding it hard, look what you've done to get yourself here. So I would never ever pull out of a race, not when I've worked as hard as what I have.
Well, we're at about 10 minutes to go. I'm just wondering if you would be happy for people to just sort of freely ask some things now, if you would be comfortable about doing that.
Cool.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I know that I really want to just say a massive thank you before that even starts, and a big round of applause if people can unmute and do so, because I've watched people try and clap and go yay through the silence, and I know they want to, so.
Thank you, Jay, for setting it up.
Can I open it up to everyone else? Is there anyone who has anything they'd like to say?
And they don't have fixed monthly hours.
I think they're all waiting.
I've got quite a say, I'm in awe of all of you. I know we've said it already, but I think you're all fantastic and you continually inspire me. And I've had a bit of a time with injury quite recently. I'm just coming out the back of that. But seeing what you guys achieve has just really spurred me on again. So thank you.
I'm sorry, I think someone's TV is quite loud. Is there any chance you could either pop yourself on mute if it is your TV, or thank you. Fab. No.
It's not me.
Someone's TV.
Not me, mine's not on.
Can hear a man.
I'm just going to work through people and see who it is. I'm trying to find where the TV is. It's not that
Mine's
TV.
definitely on.
Now.
Do you reckon? Who do you reckon it is? No,
John?
it's gone. It's gone. Anyone else?
I'm slap bang in the middle of the age of all the ladies. I think I'm right in saying Jackie's the baby, and
Wow.
and Rosemary's our star mature. Oh, I can't say star mature lady. You know
the
what I
old
mean.
lady. Yeah.
So we've got what, perimenopause right to postmenopause. So I'm 56 and I'm sort of just about out of it. Luckily, no hot flushes and things. But do any of the ladies, have you ever taken any supplements if you have suffered at all or found anything to help? I'm thinking like from an iron level issue. I mean, that's probably generally for all ladies, regardless of age anyway. Is there anything that you think, you know, you might have had that's made a difference to you? Not just recently, but maybe a few years ago as well?
I'd say that I went through the menopause very, very young, so I didn't have an issue, not really. So and I've always been fine. So I can't help you there, Hayley. Sorry.
I had lots.
I'm worried about bones at the moment. I've got a big thing in my head about worrying about breaking things. I mean, I should be okay because I run, you know, and I've run for quite a lot of years. But my mum had osteoporosis, and it's hereditary in daughters.
So,
you know,
so Hayley, my my bone density after I had my double stress fracture, I went for a bone density scan, and mine was my bone density came out as low, so not osteoporosis, but just before that level. And the advice they gave me was to take calcium with magnesium and vitamin D, and to go on HRT. Which I was already on HRT to be fair, and that's probably not just my saving grace, but probably Sean's as well.
You hear different things about HRT, don't you? So
well, I can 100% tell you that I was in a really, really bad way before I started taking it. So I think I've been on it for about 5 years now.
Look at Sean nodding.
Yeah.
You should have seen him when there was a shortage.
I found some.
I'll go anywhere.
Yeah, I keep saying I'm going to get an appointment to go and get a bone density scan, but I don't know whether you have to have a
I
big
don't know whether you
or...
can. Kat will probably know more about this, but I don't know whether you can just request one. But if you have a bone injury, then you certainly would be asked to go, especially with the amount of activity that you do, so the level of training that you do. I was also recommended by Rini and by Martin when I was doing marathon training to take extra iron, because that naturally gets used up anyway. But if you're doing lots of miles, so I was doing like 70 miles a week was the top I was training, you know, top mileage I was doing, and my iron level was quite low for a short period when I was training, and it took 3 months for it to go back up to normal. So it's something that you can kind of like, you can request a blood test for the iron level, and that's also really important to keep on top of.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fiona.
Sharing my
I've got a question about mileage, since Fiona raised it. Obviously, in the sport, there are various different opinions about mileage in relation to marathons or shorter events, and I'd just be interested to know for each of the runners what their philosophy is with regards to their weekly mileages.
Fiona,
Who's going first?
Fiona, you have Martin coach you, so I think you're probably the best one to answer this.
To be honest, it depends what event I'm training for. So, you know, when I'm marathon training, like I said, it would go up to 70 miles. Probably wouldn't do that much now I'm a few years older. Maybe I would go up to 55, 50. But it really depends on the event that you're going for. So for a 10K, I might not do as much of that. I might go up to like 40, 46, but that might be because the intensity is a bit higher in that time as well. So marathon training, as you know, you do lots of easy runs to build up that endurance. So it really does depend on which event I'm training for.
Holly, I think you said that you had a question.
Oh, hang on. Oh,
Is
She eating?
She probably is eating, to be fair.
usually am.
Nom 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 nom.
So first of all, I just wanted to say thank you, because I really enjoyed that. I think like of Jackie and Fiona will know that for a while I was kind of doing some of the cross-country races in the under-15s and under-17s by myself, and I hated being on the start line by myself. So I absolutely loved it when I got to the senior women category. I was able to be on the start line with you guys, and I loved it. My question is I think Fiona touched on it a little bit when she was saying about the British record and how the guy thought it wasn't going to be broken. My question is, when you have people who maybe say that you can't achieve something or they doubt your ability, how do you tackle that? What's your way of kind of overcoming it or channeling it?
Can I say something on that? My dad, when I was growing up, that was his way of doing everything in sport with us. Now he'll still say, "What do you do, walk?" or something when I tell him something like that. So it works, basically. And I think, like Steve Williams, I mean, he's an amazing coach, and you know, the relationship is great. And he can be amazing at making you feel that you can achieve something, but he also can sort of like jokingly like sort of say what, you know, and be a bit like that. It definitely works with me if somebody says you can't achieve something. I think as well, for me, running, I feel, was one of the only things I've ever achieved anything in. So yeah, so you know, it when somebody says I can't do it, I just think actually it's probably the only thing I've got confidence in my ability, I suppose, really. Most of the time.
Where your competitive streak comes out.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
So it's my dad's fault.
Perhaps Steve's had a word with your dad, Jackie.
Well, they're from the old school together, aren't they? You know, that was how they used to do it. You know, just tell someone they're rubbish and they're improved.
I've got a question from Denise Ellis. Sorry, Fiona, did you want to finish something there? Sorry.
I was just going to say that one of the other things that my coach used to say, because I used to go into a meeting and say, I don't think I can do that at that time. No, I don't think I can do that time. And he'd say, don't ever use boundaries. Don't ever put boundaries in the way. So, or, you know, always take that down. So, no, carry on. Go for it, Denise.
Denise definitely had a hand up. It then said lower hand, but I think you've got something to say, Denise.
No, it was I agree with everything. I've been there from the start, I'll be there to the end.
It's lovely to see you, Denise.
Absolutely. What a fantastic crowd of people. Oh, Sean's got something. He's been quiet for a long time.
Bloody hell, I don't think he's ever been quiet.
There we go.
I can't stay quiet any longer. I've got to ask the question on everyone's lips is, how do the four girls feel about the fact that in cross country, the distances for men and women are different?
I love it.
I love it.
I don't want it to change.
We like going there, Smiles.
None of this equality business.
There you go.
I am quite happy with it.
So you got your answer now, Sean.
He thought he was being controversial.
He did. Saying that, I've got to say that when we do the nationals and the distance is 8K as opposed to 6K as it is in the league cross country races, I do, because a lot of the cross country, there's a lot of younger women doing it, and I do find that I start to catch up with the younger ones towards the end. So really, it probably would be better if it was extended a bit, but I still don't want it to be because it's too painful.
And I don't think it's very fair for me to say what I actually believe, but I'm going to say it anyway. But I don't do very many cross country races, but I would like it longer the better. Then I'm more like
yeah. You're all kind of saying what would suit yourselves, really.
Yeah.
But I think
right.
what I'm trying to get over,
nothing wrong with that.
I'm just trying to get over to the fact that I just don't believe, you know, even if they make the men's shorter and the women's slightly longer or whatever, I just don't believe it's sending out the right message for the sport of athletics.
No, it isn't really. You're right.
Differentiation between genders. It's just kind of.
Are you answering a question, Sean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, are you saying they should be the same length, Sean?
Yeah, they should be the same length for men and women, just like all the other races are.
Just like the marathon.
Otherwise, it's sending out the wrong signal, I think. I know people are going to just say they prefer either shorter or longer races. Like
it is ridiculous, really, isn't it? Now, really, that it is different.
I've just noticed Denise has raised her hand again. I don't know if this is deliberate, but it keeps saying Denise has raised her hand and then lowers her hand.
I'm trying to get rid of it.
Or is it a glass of wine?
My hand goes. I don't know how to get rid of it.
It stays there till you ask a question, Denise.
This bloody Zoom stuff is a new thing to me, I tell you.
It's a new thing to all of us.
I think it's been new to all of us, yeah.
I just want to give
Except
one
the
more thank
youngsters.
you. We're at 8 o'clock now. We've held these ladies for a whole hour and had their undivided attention. And just absolute credit to the club. And this session has been fantastic. I definitely feel as if I've had a box of chocolates and a glass of wine. So
Without the calories.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
I
Jane.
really appreciate it. Thank you. Denise has got her hand up.
I got my hand up.
Thank you, Jay, for organising it. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.
guys.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you, Diana, Rosemary, and thank you, Jackie. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.